Tonight, our invocation is given by Jeff Green.
Ask everyone to please stand, remove all your hats, bow our heads for a word of prayer. Our precious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for the privilege and the opportunity to come before thy throne this evening. And Lord, you know, dear Heavenly Father, the tasks that are set before us, Lord, as a council and as a body here of citizens in Muncie. And Lord, you know the tasks that need to be accomplished, Lord, for the benefit of all citizens. Amen. And Lord, we ask that you would guide and direct, Lord, that self would be set aside, and Lord, through your Spirit, you would guide us to make wise and right decisions. Lord, we ask that you would just help us to come together as a community. Lord, we want to see healing, and we want to see progress, and we want to see growth take place. And Lord, we ask that you would be with the families, all the families that are represented in the city of Muncie. We ask that you would deal with the young people, help families and people to come together, Lord, instead of being divisive. Lord, we ask that you would just guide us tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Can we all stay standing for a minute? I'd like to have a moment of silence here in a second. I want Ms. Gullion to read this. One of our employees for the city passed away, and we need to recognize him.
Robert Derringer passed away last week. Everyone called him by his nickname Radar. He retired from Beech Grove Cemetery last June after being a full-time employee for 44 years. Before he became full-time, he started working at Beech Grove Cemetery in the summers when he was 13 years old. That would make it 57 years working there. Radar was a dependable employee, and he had a heart for his job. We had a large rock engraved and dedicated it to him for his more than 44 years of employment with the city of Muncie at Beech Grove Cemetery. He will be buried in front of his rock on Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. Calling will be July 2nd from 5 to 8 at Parsons Mortuary and 10 a.m. prior to the services Wednesday at 11 a.m.
Okay, can we have a moment of silence, please? Thank you very much. It's sad when we have a dedicated employee like that pass away. And I want to personally thank his family for his service. And I also want to thank him for his service to the city of Muncie. You don't get employees like that anymore to serve 50 some years. So he's a pretty good fellow in my book. And we'll move right along. Citizen recognition, which would be me tonight. And next month will be Harold Mason, District 6. I'm going to turn the gavel over to Nora Powell while I'm on the floor. My citizens recognition this month is Thomas L. Carey. And Thomas is not feeling well tonight, and he couldn't make it. And I'm sure if he knew that he was getting this award, he's in some pain. So we need to give him a little bit of lift. Thomas L. Carey, born in Edmond, Oklahoma, January 4th, 1941, and Bernice and Thomas Carey Jr. In 1955, along with his mother and sister, Dorothy, relocated to Muncie. And Thomas graduated from the Muncie Central High in 1959. He graduated from Butler Barber College, located in Tyler, Texas, as of in 1961. Thomas moved back to Muncie and has owned his own and operated Carey's Superior Barber Shop on the corner of Willard and Halfway for 59 years. Thomas was employed by Ball State University Physical Plant Department, where he later became a supervisor for 29 years. He retired from Ball State in 1996. Thomas married his wife, Judy, of 55 years. And on April 12, 1969 in Muncie, Indiana. Their union produced 2 daughters, Kathy, Yolanda Carey, 4 grandchildren, Dominice and Chelsea and Jayla and Michael, and 2 grandchildren, Carmen and Carter. Thomas also 1 son, Thomas Carey. Thomas has been a faithful and a devoted member of the Trinity United Methodist Church for 59 years. Everything's 50 years tonight. Attending Trinity, he attended Union Missionary Baptist Church for 4 years. During Thomas's younger years, he was active in basketball, softball, bowling. Thomas also received several achievement awards while serving his community. Thomas received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the NAACP Chapter 3063 in 2019. He also the recipient of the Delaware County Black Chamber of Commerce Business Legend Award and the Juneteenth Muncie Trailblazer Award in 2022. On June 1st, 2024, Thomas officially packed away his hair clippers and his straight razor for the last time. Now that he has retired from his shop, he spends a lot more time playing casino games online and watching various sports and political shows. Thomas has been a true and devoted leader in this community for 59 years. His customers and people in the community speak highly of him. Mr. Carey has a true heart and always been willing to give to his community, whether someone needed financially or needed a haircut. Tom will provide the haircut for free. Thomas' passion, love for the community will all be known by all. And tonight, Catherine, I'd like to present that to you and your dad for citizenship of July 1st, 2024, and the whole Muncie City Council. And before you leave tonight, I'd like to get a picture of you in the City Council. Okay. Thank you.
As you all know, he says, my dad is not feeling well today, so keep him in prayer. Okay? Thank you so much.
We have some dedicated employees out there, 50 years, I'll tell you, that's a good mark on everybody. I hope we start getting this young generation to serve that long to jobs they have. Anyway, we're moving right along. Like I say, next month will be Harold Mason, and we need to have a roll call, please.
Mason,
Here.
Selby,
Here.
McIntosh,
Here.
Green,
Present.
Howell,
Here.
Garrett,
Here.
Gillian,
Here.
Basham,
Here.
Fishman,
Present.
all present.
I need a approval of minutes, a motion for approval of minutes.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Green,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Mason,
Here. Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
and Fishman.
Yes. Okay, moving on to boards and appointments and commission and committees. We have any tonight? I don't think so.
I do real
Okay.
quickly, just Chip Taylor couldn't make it tonight from the Ethics Commission. And so he just wanted us to pass on that the next Ethics Commission meeting is on July 18th at 7:30 at Mering Hunt Library. Any feedback about either of the drafts that they've posted to their website and to Facebook should be to the committee at or before that July 18th meeting. It's open to the public to comment on.
Anybody else? Okay. Moving on to ordinances previously introduced, ordinance 11-24.
Council Nick Tokar, 400 West Jackson Street. Kathy Van Ice was here last month and I think gave you a overview of the project. This is to vacate a block of Dill Street just south of.
Mr. President, may I interrupt? I apologize. Reading secretary forgot to read. So,
That's okay.
okay, I'll do that really quickly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
Maybe I
my
went too
fault.
fast.
Ordinance 11-24, an ordinance to vacate a portion of a certain right-of-way in the city of Muncie, Delaware County, Indiana.
Okay, sorry. Nick Tokar, 400 West Jackson Street. Kathy Van Ice from Ashland Land Surveyor was here last month when this was introduced. This is to vacate a block of Dill Street south of Village Promenade to help facilitate a housing development as part of the larger village redevelopment project. I've got Adam from the developer, Mike Frame, also here from one of the developers if you have any questions, but otherwise I won't take up more of your time.
Let me do this real quick. I need a motion for approval for this
So
ordinance.
Second.
Second, okay. Okay, is there anyone else needs to speak on this?
I have a question.
Yeah, Ms.
If you don't mind having somebody tell us about the timeline a little bit and how can information be disseminated to the public about closures and the council members too?
Sure, I'll invite up Adam from Fairmount Properties.
Good evening, Adam Branscombe with Fairmount Properties. So the timeline for the development, specific to the 25 or so homes that we're proposing, we would expect infrastructure work to begin toward the end of this year, so the fall. The vertical construction of the homes would probably happen at the conclusion of this upcoming winter, so call it spring of 25. That's when we would commence construction of the vertical, the homes themselves.
Okay, and how would you disseminate information? What's your plan? How are you going to share that information about closures, about issues that may come up with construction to the public and the council as well?
Sure. Well, we're working on a web page right now. Additionally, we have good dialogue going with Councilwoman Powell. We've had a number of slide decks that we've prepared and provided. We can continue to do that. We also host periodic community meetings with the Riverside Normal Group and others who are interested in attending. West Ridge, Old West End, we've had attend some of our meetings. So we do those quarterly as well. The last meeting that we had, I think, was our best turnout yet. We were probably close to 40 people. So we'll continue to do that as the project moves forward.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Would you make sure you share the information with every council person? Because it doesn't matter what neighborhood association or where we are, they will ask us questions and we're stumped sometimes. So share it with everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank
Will do.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Marshall.
Just to clarify, there are no structures in this area of that section of Dill, so traffic will not be affected at all by this closure. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. President. And Councilman Bastian, I reached out to both the chief of the police department and the fire department to ask, and I know that Branson has done so as well, just to see if that will interrupt any public services. And no, the answer is no.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the council?
Question.
I was going to ask the audience.
Oh, okay.
Anyone from the audience?
Hi, Kylene Swackhammer from the Plan Commission. I was here last month as well. Just wanted to remind you that we submitted a letter of support last time, just the support of our office and support of the vacation and of the project. Last time I also submitted a letter as well, just stating that we did not foresee any negative effects on traffic flow, and kind of included a map of showing that this area was not a high traffic flow area. So just offering support as well.
Anyone else from the audience? Any else from the council? All in favor, say aye. Was it roll call? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Garrett,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Govian,
Yes.
and Fishman.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tokar. Okay, ordinance 12-24.
Ordinance 12-24, an ordinance amending ordinance 24-23, fixing the maximum salaries of each and every appointed officer, employee, deputy, assistant, departmental, and institutional head of the city of Muncie, Indiana, including herein for the year 2024.
Anyone from the council want to ask any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, we need a motion to introduce. We have a motion.
I make a motion, we adopt 1224.
Have a second.
Second.
Anybody want to talk on this tonight?
Yes, this was put in by the Indiana Code 36-4-7-3, stating that the executive may increase or decrease by during the budget year for which it is fixed as far as the salaries. And we felt that go ahead and institute the salary increase to the employees. And that's why we're bringing it in front of you.
Anybody from the council have a
Yeah.
question?
So they have been receiving, we asked you that question, it's in the minute. May 1st was the
Yes.
first time they received that.
May 1st.
And your plan is to continue paying it for the rest of this year?
Well, we hope so, yes.
Mr. Basham?
If the council does not approve this ordinance, how does that impact the pay that has been received from May 1st to now? Is that in question? Is it possible that those city employees will have to reimburse the city of the money that they've received?
No, we have no plans to call back that money. If the council doesn't approve the amended salary ordinance, State Board of Accounts will issue a finding, and we have a chance to respond to that finding, and our response will be that the city council refused to amend the salary ordinance.
Anyone else?
We believe that the city workers deserve these raises. I mean, with inflation, cost of living going up, I mean, all you have to do is go to the grocery store to see it. We believe it's the right thing to do. We gave a 10% raise to police and fire unions. And in large part, that increase was to improve recruitment and retention of police and fire employees. And it's no different for civil employees. We believe that they deserve to be compensated for their hard work. And if the contract had been approved, we would have already had this salary ordinance in place. But it hasn't, and, here we are. So that's our opinion on it.
Let's go ahead.
So just as a reminder, so I know I asked this before, but just again to reiterate, you gave those 10% raises to fire and police when?
At the beginning of this
Started
year.
at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
And this was started when for the rest of the city and the other, and the ASME union?
For ASME, it was I don't know that it was May 1st. It was the first pay in May.
Correct.
Mhm. Okay. And do you plan, if this were approved, to back pay back to June?
We had discussed this with the union at our last negotiations, and we said that if we saw the expected 10% increase at the June settlement, that we would issue back pay, but that is not the case. It was roughly 1%.
But we
Increase over last year's spring settlement.
are continuing talks with ASME as far as dealing with everything, July the 9th.
Thank you. Mr. Wagley, for clarification, you said that the property tax settlement came in 1% over 2023?
Yes, the spring settlement, yes.
Spring settlement is just 1% over what we received for 2023?
That's
Thank you.
correct.
And so you're saying that in order to give these employees what you've given all the other employees, you're not going to be able to do
No,
that?
the police and fire is what we gave these.
Right.
increases.
Well, my question is that you're saying because of the news that you got in regards to 1% spring settlement, the 1% increase, you're unable to give the back pay to January 1st to the other employees?
That's correct.
Isn't that, so would that put us into a financial
Crisis,
crisis?
which is the language, the situation that's needed in order to adjust salaries regardless of a contract.
So just for clarification, roughly $65,000 will put us into a financial crisis?
We believe so.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
President.
We felt comfortable doing this considering it was May and we still hadn't had a contract.
Okay.
President. So you're saying with the 65,000 would be, put you in a crisis?
I don't know that the exact number is 65,000, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay. I'm noticing that we're coming up with, what is it, deputy here, deputy there? Where are those jobs? How's that funding coming through if you don't have any money?
Well,
Just curious.
these jobs are in place. These jobs are not just created in May of this year. We budget based on projected revenues. And of course, you never know what the revenue is going to be because people may not pay their property taxes, which in an inflationary period, I was chief deputy treasurer for 10 years. And I'll tell you, during an inflationary period, about the first thing people stop paying is their property taxes because they know that it takes more than 12 months of back taxes in order to get into a tax sale.
So how did you decide that these would be the employees that didn't get the 10% raise for the entire year?
Because these were the employees that we were still attempting to negotiate a contract with.
Okay. And so the 1% increase,
And we were advised not to do anything in the middle of a contract negotiation because that could be seen as trying to manipulate the contract. At the time that we did it, it seemed to us that we were at what's called an impasse. And if you're at an impasse, you have a little more flexibility.
okay. For clarification on all of that you just have said, there were meetings going on when they announced the raise, so you were still under negotiations, correct?
The contract was deemed technically, December 31st, the contract was over.
But
We were attempting to negotiate in good faith, and we didn't want to upset the apple cart
I
by
understand that.
doing something in the middle of a contract negotiation.
Okay.
But you did have, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I have a question for you. The pay increase that you're giving now, is that in any way going to affect the negotiations? The contracts, what you're doing now, is this in any way going to affect that?
We'll talk with everybody with the negotiations on July the 9th at our next negotiation meeting.
Okay, so at this time, you're still under negotiations.
Well, we're resuming negotiations
Okay.
on July the 9th.
Yeah, that was, I'm sorry. So that was going to be my point. You were still in negotiations, right? You had a June,
We're-
you had a June, you had a
we're
June,
planning-
you had a June 11th or 12th meeting, and
Jan-
now you've got this July one. So you are still in negotiations, correct?
We were attempting to negotiate the 24 contract. At this time, on the 9th, we're looking towards 2025 because the employees have received a 10% raise with no concessions. The only thing that the employees could expect for 2024 would be to make concessions for the 10% raise that we gave them. Because police and fire gave concessions during their negotiations.
So again, back to this issue of if you don't have the financing now, if it's going to send you into financial, what was the word you used?
Crisis.
So if it will send the city into financial crisis to pay the $65,000 from January to May this year, will you have the money next year to pay
We
the full
believe
year?
so because there are more taxable properties coming online for 2024, payable 2025.
Mr. President, could you estimate, I'm sorry, did you recognize me? I thought so. Could you estimate how many city employees this will impact? How many?
It's a little over 100 total. That is bargaining unit and non-bargaining unit. Bargaining unit is, there are, I believe there are 63 positions. I don't know that all those positions are filled for the bargaining unit. That would be the ones covered under ASME.
President. I just also want a reminder that the reason that we're talking about this is not that we don't believe that they deserve 10%, but just a reminder that this was not brought in front of the council as it was
Right,
supposed to have been done under ordinance and under code.
Understood. And like I say, if the contract had been settled, you would have had one. You would have had a new salary ordinance. But we didn't think that we should project what the end result would be and do an amended salary ordinance and then have to come back and do another amended salary ordinance. And the State Board of Accounts, the mayor has spoken with State Board of Accounts, and State Board of Accounts has said, as long as the salary ordinance is amended before the end of the year, they will issue no finding. Just like if, I'm sorry.
That's true, that they will find no finding, but you're still outside of city ordinance. You still spent money that wasn't appropriated. Number two.
No, the money was appropriated. We're well within the appropriated money. It's just that the salary, you're talking about the salary ordinance. The appropriated money.
You've spent money that is beyond the maximum amount of hourly rate for the salary ordinance. It just is, sir. The maximum salary ordinance for 24-23 says this. You've spent that we've established that. We've established that for the last 2 or 3 months.
That's correct. And the State Board of Accounts has no issue with that as long as the salary ordinance is amended by the end of the year.
Because the finding will be, if it's not, that you spent money without it being approved by the fiscal body. The first part of that Indiana code that Mr. Wright hasn't read is that has to be approved by the fiscal body. So it says with the fiscal body's approval, the executive can increase salary.
I don't believe that's what that says. I don't believe it is.
My next question.
I got it right here. Got it right here. Right there, bud.
You gotta have the rest of it.
I've got all of it.
You gotta have B, C, and D.
Yeah.
But, and we can argue that at another time, and I can make an appointment to come in, because I don't want to delay the meeting. But there was an impasse with, and I'm not expecting information about what happened in the negotiations, but I do want to point out that at the State of the City address, Mayor Ridenour praised AFSCME employees. He had them stand up. He said things like, these are the people that are getting it done. He said things like, it'll be expensive to have a contractor come and mill those streets, but our guys can do this.
Absolutely.
So
And he gave them a 10% raise.
he gave all the civilian employees a 10% raise
In May.
That's
in
correct.
May.
So you're saying that the non-ASME people aren't worth the
I'm just
10%
saying,
raise?
sir, that you can't
But your
you
line,
can't ask for praise on the work of someone and not reward their work
10%
in regards
raise.
to their contract.
It's, you find me a company or another government unit that's provided a 10% raise, and don't tell me don't tell me that's not appreciation.
Well, and I'm sure there's other government
With
units
no
that came to
with
council
no
and asked to
concessions.
increase the salaries as well.
Right, but
So
your
I'm not
language.
going to go
your-
back and forth with you, sir, about those things. I'm just saying that at the State of the City address, we praised these employees.
Absolutely, and deservedly so.
They deserve a full contract. They deserve the raise.
They got a 10% raise with no concessions.
Anybody else got?
And your wording was that we are spending money that has not been appropriated. No, we are not.
I'm sorry, I'll take that back and clarify. We're spending money that hasn't been approved by the fiscal body.
Well, the money's been approved by the fiscal body.
No, sir,
It's
has-
the salary ordinance is at issue. And we've quite frankly had no expectation that giving the employees a 10% raise would be so.
I don't, oh, sorry. I don't think that that's what's controversial. What's controversial is you've done it before coming to the council, which is following this chain of commands. You've circumvented council.
But state statute says that the compensation fixed under this section may be increased or decreased by the executive during the year for which it is fixed. That is after it talks about the council doing the salary ordinance.
Exactly.
It does.
After
It does say
talks
fixed. Yeah. and
Right,
it does.
it's fixed, and then during the year, the executive can, that's the way it reads.
That's the portion that you've been given.
I'm the one who found it. I've read all of it.
Okay.
I've read read the entirety of the 36-4-7. All the sections, section 3 and all the other sections.
And you pulled out the-
It states that council fixes this, and then the executive has the authority to increase or decrease it during the year for which it is fixed under the salary ordinance.
All right. And I think that's what you're talking about, where it's fixed. So you have a certain limit and you can only go within that limit. And what you've done is go beyond
And
that limit.
no,
And
then-
have not
then-
come be-
But it's fixed, and that sets the limit, and then it says the executive may be increased or decreased by the executive during the budget year for which it is fixed.
Mr. President, could we get advice from legal, please?
He's on.
Mr. Gibson,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes, we'd like you to clarify.
At this point, I'm not sure the state statute is really the relevant question. The question is being asked of you, are you going to amend the ordinance?
Right.
Putting aside the state statute, you passed an ordinance last year that said they would only pay up to a certain level. They have exceeded that, and they're now asking you to amend it. Whether they believe that is proper or not is really not the relevant question tonight. It's, are you going to amend the ordinance or not?
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else from the audience?
Nate Burgess, ASME 3656 president, come before you to ask you to table this again. The meeting on the 12th, I thought went amazing. That's no lie. I thought we really made some leeway. Didn't hear anything from the city for a little while. sent an email and received an email back last Friday, and pretty much everything that I felt good about is now backwards. I just got confirmation this morning. We do have a meeting on the 9th. But as far as I'm concerned, it's to pick an arbitrator, not to continue. So we've been at this since July, and quite frankly, me and my team were tired of dragging the dead weight around. So if you guys get any questions.
I do. If we table it today, how's that going to affect? Is everybody on board with AFSCME, the families? Is everybody in
We
agreement?
definitely are. We're in it for the long haul. We need a contract. It was pretty simple. Give us a 2024 contract and we'll sign off on it. We was told that we didn't need a contract for this year. So I have several grievances out, employees fired. I need a contract, so I got a leg to stand on and to move forward. And without a contract, I keep getting the same message back, every time I file something. So,
Thank you.
and as far as at an impasse, it was the city that gave the impasse, the final and best offer. We never called that. We're calling it now, but just after 1 year of dragging us through the mud.
Thank you.
Hang on. Anyone else from the audience?
Got a question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got a question. Yeah, for Mr. Burgess. So you said 2024 is pretty done. Can you clarify what you mean by that, or was that, or who said that?
Our contract has an evergreen clause in it that was signed off for 2023. The evergreen clause pretty much says from year to year thereafter. They're saying we don't have a contract in 2024. And so every grievance I file says I don't have a contract. Like I said, I got 2 people laid off. We got supervisors taking overtime. It's a mess. And if I don't have a contract in 2024, it's going to continue being a mess. 6 months worth of mess already. I don't need a year. The city wants to negotiate for 2025. And before we negotiate for 2025, 2024 is going to be fixed. And that's our stance.
Mr. Burgess, when did you begin negotiations for 2024?
It was in July of last year.
So a year ago.
Yeah.
And I know you can't be specific, but did AFSCME come and offer concessions?
Most definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the audience?
Audie Barber, we're trying to get the wool pulled over our eyes here by only reading part of the law, part of the rules, part of the regulations. These men and women have been working nonstop, continuously, without a contract. And I think the only way you guys should ever think about passing that law, that rule tonight, that ordinance tonight, is make it retroactive to January 1st. No questions about it. Those people deserve their raise just like anybody else. If they wanted to be police officers, they would have been police officers. I praise the police department. If they wanted to be firemen, they'd have been firemen. I praise the fire department. These folks take care of our streets and everything else that goes along with it. And they're being treated like something on the bottom of my shoe that I stepped in somebody's yard in. This is ridiculous. This is called union busting at its best. That is what they're trying to do here. The administration in office at this time is trying to break this AFSCME union. And I hope and pray that you folks sitting up there that got contributions from some of the unions, remember the unions that supported you, and these folks are still part of them unions. So if you do pass this regulation, try to make it effective January 1st. Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience? Anyone else from
Make a motion to a table.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion to table and second. Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
No.
Mason,
Yes.
Green,
No.
Bishop.
Yes. Moving on to ordinance 13-24.
Ordinance 13-24, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the F Farming Zone and 2 Intense Industrial Zone to the MHP Mobile Home Park Zone on premises located at 2800 West Memorial Drive, Muncie, Indiana.
Make a motion to adopt 13-24.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is anyone here to speak on that tonight? Nobody here to speak on that tonight? Yeah. Need a motion to table it since nobody's here tonight. Got a motion to table tonight?
I'll go ahead and make that motion table if nobody's here to speak about
Need
it.
a second.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Bishop.
The ordinances. Ordinance 14-24.
Ordinance 14-24, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R4 Residence Zone to the BC Community Business Zone on premises located at 1300 South Liberty Street, Muncie, Indiana.
Need a motion to introduce this.
I'll make a motion to introduce
Second.
this.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Kylene Swackhammer here from the Plan Commission. The applicant in this case is Muncie Mission Ministries Incorporated. The property is located at 1300 South Liberty Street. They are wanting to change this from an R4 residence zone to a BC Community Business Zone. And this is for a development of a multifamily dwelling. This has went before the Plan Commission with a favorable recommendation, 6-0, with one person abstaining due to connection to the case. Let's see. There is property. They are going through the replatting process now, so this will not be a split zone. This will not end up being a split zone. And it is kind of a true mixed-use area. There's other community business directly across the street to the south. And then there's also some other residence zone in there as well as some variety business. So it will not create any spot zoning.
Mr. President.
Basham.
Remind me, isn't this what elementary school did this used to be?
Good evening. It was the Harrison School.
That's right. Okay. Have any property taxes been collected from this property for years? I mean, maybe even 100 years?
Since the 70s, it's been owned by Full Gospel Church.
And before that, it was a school. So, okay. Okay.
So I'm Mara Hoff with Defer Varan, 400 South Walnut Street, representing Muncie Mission Ministries. But I did want to point out, though they are the applicant, this is actually part of the Together to House Muncie project. So there are many, many different agencies locally that are part of this alliance, including the YW, Better Way, Christian Ministries, Meridian Health, Open Door, the Center Township Trustee, and the City of Muncie Community Development Office. So this is a very large project that we're very excited about. If you want any of the details on that, I'm happy to answer those questions. But as Kylene covered, we went through the detailed analysis of the rezoning with the Planning Commission, and they did unanimously recommend that we rezone the parcel.
Yes, I'm going to ask you again. I asked you at the Planning Commission, I'll ask you in front of the council. Did you inform people that live around that? Did you send letters out to them?
Yes, so everyone who was within the 2 parcel distance required by the Planning Commission was given notice of that hearing and that meeting. No one contacted me and no one appeared to remonstrate that night. There have also been community forums, and I know that Brian Ayers with Open Door met with some folks at the Ross Community Center just last week as well.
Okay, but they were notified, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, notice was sent.
Anybody else from the council? Anyone from the audience?
Audie Barber, more housing, more apartments, more multifamily apartments. We've got one at 26 in Walnut Street that was supposed to have started. They went in, stripped the top dirt off, and haven't touched it for months. We got one supposed to go in on Kilgore. How many apartment buildings can the city afford? It's not affordable housing because the people gets into them, they can't afford them. A lot of apartments going in. Maybe we need to concentrate on some businesses. If we could get the businesses like we are the apartment buildings, shoot, the sky would be the limit. And it's being done in central Indiana. Westfield's one of the busiest growing cities in the United States. So, and that's 40 miles away. So we're getting a lot of apartment buildings. We've got a bunch of houses that they started about 3 years ago that are still sitting empty because people can't afford them. All you have to do is drive around the communities, drive around the neighborhoods, and you'll see the empty, brand new apartments that the city helped fund that are still sitting empty. So maybe give it some thought when you guys rezone this. Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience? Any further discussion from the council? Okay. Roll call, please. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same.
President Dishman, we did have a special request if you would consider suspending the rules to pass this tonight. And the only reason we ask is because we are part of the IHCDA's program for tax credit financing. That application is due at the end of July, and the site is to be under control and properly zoned before the application will be considered.
Do we have a motion to consider?
I'll go ahead and make that motion to suspend the rules.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Derek,
No.
Mason,
No.
Yeah, because it's special. It's
It's
because
that,
it's
Oh,
special.
when somebody
Yeah.
says no, it's no.
Yes.
Okay. All right, sorry. Okay, we're moving into resolutions.
We still have
Oh, we got
one
one
more.
more. Okay. Ordinance 15-24.
Ordinance 15-24, an ordinance to amend the City of Muncie Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance from the R4 Residence Zone to the R5 Residence Zone for lots 10 and 11 in Block 9 and Lot 12 in Block 10 of Henry C. Martin's addition to the City of Muncie.
Motion to introduce.
Got a
Second.
motion to introduce
Second.
and a second. Anyone wishing to speak on this?
Kylene Swackhammer again for the Plan Commission. The applicant in this case is Cardinal Properties, Inc. This is the project that was previously discussed in relation to vacating Dill Street. So these are the townhomes that will be on either side of that area of Dill Street. As it sits now, you have the aerial, but lot 10, 11, and 12 are zoned differently for some reason than the others. So this is just to create an equal zoning area here, change those 3 lots to match the rest of the area. So they are asking to change it from an R4 residence zone to an R5 residence zone. And that will clean up the spot zoning in that area. This was also favorably recommended by the Plan Commission, 7-0. And then just a reminder, the ordinances tonight for these things are simply about the rezoning of the areas, nothing to do with the projects, construction of the projects, use of the land. It's strictly the rezoning.
Nick Tokar, 400 South Walnut. As Kylene mentioned, this was in front of you last month. This is for the townhome project, owner-occupied homes just south of the Village Promenade, just to clean up the sort of mismatched zoning there to make it all R5.
Did you send out letters to everybody around there?
Correct.
Okay. Correct. All right. You got any questions from the council? Anybody from the audience? Roll call, please. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same.
At this time, because this received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission, because it goes hand in hand with Ordinance 11-24, I would like to follow up on the email sent last week and respectfully ask the council for suspension of rules so they can get started on this project as soon as possible.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call for suspension of the rules.
Mason,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 15-24, please.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, there's been a motion to adopt and a second. Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Selby,
Yes.
Gillian,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
McIntosh,
Yes.
Basham,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Fishman.
Yes.
Sincere thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, moving on to resolutions. Resolution 5-24.
Resolution 5-24, a resolution reaffirming support of the Muncie Land Bank and encouraging city funding to be provided in the 2025 proposed municipal budget.
Is there a motion to introduce this?
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay. Okay. Anybody wishing to speak on this tonight?
Good evening, Nate Howard from the Muncie Land Bank. I'm here really to answer any questions that you all might have. My comments are brief, just basically that, Muncie continues to struggle with the challenges of vacant, abandoned, and deteriorating property. There are a lot of efforts going on across the city, the building commissioner, the MRC, lots of nonprofit organizations, lots of neighborhood groups, but the problem continues to persist. Land banks in other places across the Midwest, the Rust Belt that have gone through growth from industry and then leaving, have found land banks to be really great tools designed to deal with addressing this issue that the land bank was created to address. were created by city ordinance in 2017, so there's a distinction between us and other nonprofits. We were created by you all. And in our short history, really since 2019, we've acquired a total of 94 properties. We've sold back to the public 69 of those. Many of those were encumbered properties rejected by the market. And 62 of those 69 we've sold to local people. That's one of the things that the land bank really prioritizes, getting property back into local folks' hands. We have, we're set up to vet people that bid on our properties. And kind of, again, a distinction from how a lot of property that's gone through tax delinquency and that's been abandoned is handled. Here in Delaware County, we vet and we make sure that the folks that are wanting to receive our property are folks that have the financial capacity and the know-how to do what they're proposing to do. We have acquired 40 properties from, we were awarded 40 properties from the commissioners, Delaware County Commissioners, in April. All those properties are tied to multi-organizational partnerships, community-based, neighborhood-based, and they're tied to plans for housing development. And we have a couple big projects that we're working on in the Old West End, getting things going in industry and Whiteley neighborhood. We have an amazing board that does a lot of the work that a staff would do. Up until now, the city and the MRC have supported the land bank with about $150,000 of support over our history. We've also received 38 properties from MRC. We're grateful for that support. And I have had conversations with the mayor, the MRC director, a handful of conversations since I started this job a couple years ago. And I know that they're mindful of the land bank, and I know that they're creative in the way they think about funding the land bank, thinking about sustainability, and they're thinking about grabbing from different buckets. We appreciate that. However, the reality is that we're just barely starting to realize what we could if we were supported by the city. And so, yeah, that's what this is about. We appreciate the potential for public support of this. Most of our funding has come from the local foundations, the generous foundations. But what we're doing is working for the collective good. And we need to be supported by the city. We were created by the city. We need to be supported by the city. No land bank thrives without support from the local government entities which we serve. Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions that I can.
Have there been any options or ideas explored at all by the city or the land bank as far as funding?
We had 2 agreements with the MRC that were totaling about $30,000 a year. Those came to an end at the beginning of this year. There has been some conversation. I've heard different numbers floated. I've heard different sources floated. But I think those are still being talked about right now.
So is it possible that some of the delinquent tax money that's going to the commissioners, a percentage of that could be used to help fund the land bank?
Potentially. This is maybe kind of opening up a can of worms. But one of the things that we've been talking about with the commissioners at the county level is how we can serve the county. Well, by statute, we are limited to only serve the city. And so we've started to breach that with the commissioners, and very interested in potentially tying that to an interlocal agreement to receive property regularly. What we've been doing up until now is we go like this to a commissioners meeting, making it considered. But we love to systematize the receiving of property, and at the same time potentially make some adjustments so that we can serve the county. And if we did that, I think there might be a real opportunity to also receive some funding from the County Redevelopment Commission.
Just for my own clarity, of course, this is a non-binding resolution, and Section 2 states that we are requesting Muncie hereby encourages the city of Muncie to provide financial support. It does not indicate specific support, just a general concept of financial support.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Correct. I mean, we have,
Good.
yeah, we have dollar amounts in mind, but everybody does.
Sure.
We know what we need to be able to really work and grow and flourish. And right now we're about maxed out with the funding that we have. And as I mentioned, the foundations have told us that them continuing to support us is not a long-term solution.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Yeah.
Conceptual.
Can you tell us, are you willing to share kind of what you're thinking you would like some kind of support to look like a number, or do you have that?
Yeah, I mean, I could say that, I think realistically, what we're asking for is operational funding. We need funding to have that baseline so that if we get money from other foundation, other grants, we can use those to focus on projects. And really to be able to follow through on a lot of the different projects, partnerships that we've been developing, we need to be able to pay for staff. So that would be me and some kind of full-time employee, either a property manager, urban planner, supplemented with specialty services such as legal, accounting. Yeah, so I feel like $100,000 a year would get us to a place where we've got some strong standing. And then upwards of that, we would be very excited about. We've talked about 150,000, but again, we understand the financial constraints. But we also know that the return on investment in the land bank, there's an incredible argument to be made for economic argument to be made for the land bank. And I'd be happy to do that at another meeting. So we talk about it as investment rather than just support. We really feel like investing in land bank is investing in growing the tax base in Muncie, growing the affordable housing stock in Muncie, growing the local ownership of Muncie, growing the home ownership in Muncie. We're not the solution, but we're a tool that could really make a difference. And we're just trying to be diligent and push forward and eventually trust that the city will want to support us in the way we're hoping for.
Mr. President, I appreciate the work you do with the land bank and that land bank does in general. But to be clear, we're not voting as a council on a specific number. We're just voting to support you or to throw our support to you.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mr. President, I have a few questions I'd like to ask. The land bank, what do you do with the homes? How much do you rehab when you receive those homes? What is it you're doing?
When we receive properties with structures, our goal is basically to secure them. So we board them up. We do sometimes major improvements to a roof or foundation. Our goal is to seal a property so that it doesn't further deteriorate. We insure it, we mow it, but our job is actually not to do the rehabilitation. Our job is to find people to do the rehabilitation, and that could be local individuals, which we've done. It could be nonprofits. It could be local developers. But our job is just to basically stop the cycle of deterioration, hold it, be a responsive owner, and then find those people that have the willingness, the know-how, and the financial ability to follow through on a project.
Could you expound on those organizations that you are using to take the properties and then make them a viable option for people in the city of Muncie?
Yes. Again, we try to work with a neighborhood focus. For example, in the Old West End, that's an area where we've been focusing a lot on. We've created a partnership there. That's with Pathstone Corporation, Eco Rehab, the Old West End Neighborhood Economic Redevelopment Corporation. I'm missing one. There's a developer out of Indianapolis called Intend Indiana that's part of this project. In the industry neighborhood, we're working with Urban Light, CDC, and Habitat for Humanity. We just signed a pass-through agreement with Habitat for Humanity. 6 of the properties that we're acquiring, that we acquired for the county in April, those are being held so that Habitat for Humanity can apply for funding. A lot of times, one of the challenges for nonprofits is their funding ebbs and flows.
Right.
And so one of the things we can do is grab properties, hold them, while the nonprofit gets their ducks lined up, gets their funding, and then, so they have plans to start doing housing development next year on those 6 properties in industry. And something that I've said at different places is that a lot of the nonprofits in Muncie had been doing land banking for years in-house. One of the impetus for us, the ordinance being signed in 2017, approved in 2017, was the nonprofit community saying, we're tired of doing this. We need an organization that specifically is working to grab property that we want to develop. And so in the last couple of years, as the land bank has really started to get its footing, they've said, okay, we're not going to do that in-house land bank anymore. We're going to turn that over to the land bank. So that's one of the sectors of Muncie that we serve. We prioritize. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, may I have a follow-up question? The 96 homes that you've had since 2017, of those homes, have you received support from the city of Muncie financially? And are they continuing to do so?
Just one clarification. So those property 94, I have the numbers and I could probably find them if you wanted to see, but a small amount of those are actually properties with structures. Most of them are vacant lots. With that, the properties with structure should be our bread and butter, and we're working on that. A big part of that puzzle is working on an agreement with the county to build that trust with the county so that we can grab those properties. So there's probably been up to now, I think, around 15 properties with structures that we acquired and then turned over to somebody locally. And yes, the city has supported, and just kind of general funding, it equals out to about $30,000 per year that we have. And we use that in all of our processes that connect to getting those properties rehabbed.
Okay. And of the foundations that support and grants that you received, are those beginning to drop off?
No, they haven't yet.
Okay.
I think the foundations are really invested in the land bank. I think they recognize what it could be. And so they haven't taken the foot off the pedal, but they have told us, Nate, like, this is not a long-term solution. And that's what you see all over the Midwest, is that where land banks thrive and grow and serve the city is that they're supported by local government.
So the profits you turn, you're putting back into the business?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're not self-sustaining yet?
No.
Do you anticipate that?
I think we can get a lot closer.
Okay.
Thank you. I just would like to make a comment. Thank you for everything that you do. And I'm going to publicly say it again. I support the land bank 100%, and I appreciate their mission and everything they're trying to do. And Councilwoman, Gillian, thank you for including me on this ordinance with you, not ordinance, I'm sorry, resolution. I just want the public to know that they are working with empty lots that do not bring a lot of tax money, and they're not acquiring premium land and property and houses. These are lands and properties and houses that no other contractor, business, developer wants. They're building communities. They're making people's dream come true with affordable, real affordable housing. I'm sorry, in my opinion. So I would encourage every one of you to think about the opportunity if you were not able to afford a home. Just that dream and knowing that somewhere within your neighborhood, not be moved to another side of town, that there's hope, that there's an opportunity for you to be close to your family and stay within that neighborhood and have somewhere to live and continue, your history, your family history. So I would encourage you to support this. It's just a promise. It's just an olive branch to it's not binding what we're doing today. It's just letting you know that we appreciate what you're doing for Muncie.
Mr. President, I don't want to come out off and sound like I don't support you, because I'm 100% behind everything you do. I wish we could give more support. I would love for you to be able to reach out to other contractors, especially retired individuals, that maybe they could come on board and help you to offset some of those costs. There's a lot of guys, they may take a year off and then they decide, I don't like retirement. I've worked with my hands for years and I want to do something. So I encourage you to reach out to some of those that might help, that would offset some of your costs and perhaps get you a little further down the road. And maybe you could even do some rehab and turn the homes for a larger profit.
Yep.
But thank you for what you do. We sincerely appreciate it. I wish there were more that were willing to do those things.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just a real quick. And there are certain things that a land bank is set up to do them that they're only allowed to do, correct? I mean, some of that can be, but also just the idea, the dream of a home and everything is great too. And the neighborhood building and all of that can remind us again how many of these properties have been put back on our tax rolls too, the property tax rolls, because I think that's important for people to understand too, that's the main goal is like, we want to get people housed, obviously, but we also want to get these properties back into our, tax revenue.
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer is there's been 69 properties that have come through our system that are now folks are paying taxes on. And those are properties that had been, in a lot of cases, sitting someplace with no taxes being paid. So it's not an astronomical number when you compare it to houses being built and the taxes that are generated and things like that. But it's pretty drastic in comparison to a negative balance.
That's right.
But again, we hope that we can contribute to that, to the housing development in Muncie. And I could go, go ahead.
Sorry, quick comment. You said 96 houses. This is a neighborhood. 96 houses is a decent sized neighborhood. So thank you.
But I appreciate that. But I want to be clear that we have
Acquired, yes.
we have acquired 94 properties.
Yes.
We have sold 69 and
neighborhood.
2/3 of those are, or more than 2/3 of those are vacant property.
Yeah.
However, we are working with the aim of building swaths of housing in different parts of the city that we work together with neighborhood organizations and other nonprofits.
Yeah,
and local developers.
And I do believe you would be able to do that with our support. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have faith.
Anyone else from the council? Anyone from the audience?
My name is Seth Rawlings. I just want to give a story exactly about what the land bank actually does. So my mom grew up in a house on 577 West Wilson Avenue with her 5 siblings. So I was actually deeply involved in this process. The land bank. So for, take you back, my grandma passed away in 2004. And this house was basically owned by my mom and her 4 siblings since then. They all either, my mom, before she passed, lived in Muncie at a house she bought. And it was split equally among the 5 of them. And it was actually like a terrible, they hated it because they wanted to keep the property not die. And the property kept just getting worse and worse and worse to the point nobody could live in it 10 years ago. And they kept having to pay the property taxes. They kept having to do all the, kept making sure people wouldn't break in. And basically one day, I reached out because I had been involved with the land bank a little bit, and I thought it was a house the land bank would probably take over. It'd be a good idea. Well, I reached out. We got the letter of support. So I was one of the people who signed on the letter to transfer the property over to the land bank. They had to get support of all the siblings. This is 577 West Wilson. You can go down. It's in the old West End. It was a house that was deteriorating for years. The land bank took it over, and within 3 months got it to a developer who currently, if you drive by it right now, the lights are currently on. He's already gutted the house. It already has a ton of the, he got a lot of the foundation stuff done. The house is going to be livable by the end of the next year. This is going to happen. And this house is going to go from being worth about $15,000 and just kind of sitting there to being worth the average on that block is about $100K. So we'd go from $150 in tax revenue a year to $1,000 ballpark. And the biggest thing is somebody's going to live in there. Either the guy who takes over this property is going to live in it himself. He's going to sell it. He's going to make some money on it to put in his hard work that he did and sell it. It's a real kind of pathway to real housing development. There's more stories like this, but this is one I'm personally connected to. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to talk to you about them. But yeah, that's what the land bank does. The land bank, $100,000 is a very small investment to the land bank actually could be something that generates revenue for the city. And that's not going to happen overnight, like anything, but it's something that's already proven with very little input that there's, it's proven with very little input that there has been a real change of development here. So if anyone has any questions, I'd take them.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Hello, Adam Bransom again. I was here for other reasons tonight, but I did feel compelled just to speak on this topic. I have maybe a unique perspective because I came here today from Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I call home, and I've seen firsthand what a well-funded, well-organized, well-run land bank can do in terms of creating pathways to home ownership, growing the tax base, as we've talked about, the elimination of blight. And I'm sure that the return on investment of $100,000 annually would definitely be made back in spades. There's been a lot of passion. I've heard the last 2 council meetings about city revenues, public employees. Well, the best way to enhance the position is to grow the tax base, right? So when you take underutilized lots and put a homeowner on there and they start paying their taxes, that's the path to growth right there. So I would encourage the council to support your local land bank.
Thank you. Thank you. That was very sweet.
Anyone else from the audience like to speak?
Hello, Holly Ipe, local housing advocate. I just wanted to add my voice in support of the land bank. We know that home ownership is one of the pathways, not only to future success, but ending generational poverty, as well as providing kids and families with stability so that they can reach future success. Excuse me. And so I think utilizing the tools that we have in place, I think the land bank has proven itself over the past several years that this is a way that we can be forward thinking for Muncie. And I've said many times, and to quite a few of you, that Muncie has everything it needs to succeed right here in Muncie. And that includes our housing stock. We know that it's poor, especially in our city's core. And the best way that we can lift that up and lift up our community is by giving our community tools and pathways forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Anyone else?
Hello, John West. I'm on the land bank board, and I'm also an urban planning professor. I've studied land banks all over the United States. And what I want to just make really clear is that the work of transferring 94 properties is immense. How many of you have purchased a home? Anyone up there? Has anybody ever purchased a home with back taxes? Okay, we're talking about months of legal work, months of paperwork. So we get properties that have liens on them, and we turn them over to people clean so that they can develop on them. Most of the time, that's what stops someone from wanting to develop. So what we're asking for from you is money for the administrative costs associated with the work that we do. We have a partnership with a community development organization in Indianapolis that's bringing a bank with it to do community development, to do low-income housing development. They have a community development finance institution. So we're not looking for money for development. We're looking for money to support the work that Nate does, to support the administrative side of the land bank. Currently, Nate has transferred all those property, and he holds a monthly meeting for the community to learn about what the land bank does. He holds meetings every month to make decisions about which properties we ought to acquire and how we ought to dispose of those properties. He holds meetings every month with the local neighborhood organizations to learn about what they want to happen in their neighborhood. And what I would say is that the administrative side of the land bank, the side where you meet people, talk to people, figure out their legal problems, figure out how to get the property ready for development, is the really, really, really important work. Anyone can go into the county tax lien sale and purchase a property on a hope and a prayer. And we see how that works out. Those properties end up back on the tax roll again. It takes administrative work. It takes time. It takes talent to do that. And I just want to point out that right now we have 3 interns in who are working for the land bank this summer. 3 Muncie land bank interns who are students in our program, and they are like putting their finger in the dike trying to make this thing work. We lost one of our employees. They got hired out because they learned so much working for the land bank that they were really, a hot commodity somewhere else. And we're losing that talent, and we need to be able to hire someone who can do the community development work, do the administrative work, et cetera. Yeah, that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, Jason Haney. I'm the CEO of Eco Rehab. I would just echo what everybody else is saying, and I would not look at the land bank as just a nice thing to do and throw some support around, but rather a very important economic development tool for the city, and to do that at a very low cost. I'll give you kind of like Seth did, an example that we as an organization hit. There was a lot of redevelopment, new construction and rehab of properties from 12th Street all the way up to 15th on Jefferson. If you guys haven't been there, it's a great area through the 812 Coalition where a lot of work has been done. Pocket Park has gone in, and I'm going to venture to say 8 or 9 homes have been has been rehabbed or built. We had we were working on Elm Street, and then there's new construction going on Madison. As we were trying to acquire a lot in order to save a home and to rebuild a new one, we go through Beacon, find out who owns it, and it's a company out of Connecticut, which is actually, when you start chasing it, it's a P.O. box just outside of Manhattan. This is a company that came in and got 165 properties in the city of Muncie. This is a developer that, well, I'm not even going to say developer. This is an investor who has no ties to our community, who could care less. When I finally found a phone number and made a call to that individual about purchasing the property, I said, well, I'm interested in one of your properties in Muncie. He goes, $6,000. I said, I haven't even told you which one. He goes, okay, which one? So I told him, he goes, $6,000. I said, okay, I saw that one coming. I set myself up there for that. And then when we explained that, you know, probably not going to get anywhere near that, he just said, okay. And that they've now contacted the land bank. They see this person has seen the land bank as a tool to try to sell them on consignment and do all these things. What I'm saying is we should 100% back the land bank. And this only helps to spur future development. I can tell you as a nonprofit, to John's point, how expensive and how time consuming it is to acquire these properties, do the title search, make sure they have clean title and all that, to know that we've got an organization that we've discussed areas that we're looking to invest, and they are actively seeking those properties and bringing them to us clean title. As a nonprofit, I mean, we can't put a number on that, on how valuable that is. And by having Nate and his team and the work they're doing will only allow us to serve more families here in Muncie with affordable housing. So I would, kind of challenge the city today to look at this as not just like a good thing we should do, and maybe we give a little bit more money, but actually look at this as a development tool. And I think will help inspire more development. And you'll see where housing developers, it's a lot easier to work with one entity like the land bank that has cleared all these properties, and working in the communities to find out what the needs are, than any other option out there. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I do just want to add, I forgot this. I had my notes open and I didn't look at it. But that these properties are professionally maintained as well. And so if we are talking to a potential home buyer and we're looking at vacant lots or maybe a house to renovate, and when you take that person to that lot, to know that the land bank has kept them mowed, they're secure, it's a little bit easier to sell than just some overgrown property and think, vision your home here. That's a lot tougher sell. So so even though that these are vacant lots, the fact that they are professionally maintained also looks good for our community. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience?
Yeah.
I know. I wanted to tell you guys a text message I just got from my aunt because I told them I was here, and they were like, and they said this is like such a no brainer. This is something that like if they can do what they did for them, they could do it across the city. So I just want to say
that. Jason Zanetti, Vice Chair of the Muncie Land Bank Board. I want to join the Land Bank parade. I wish I had candy to throw out. I can't, I mean, I'll keep it short, but if you think about as your role as elected officials and the tools that we have in our community to address these issues, blight, vacant structures, right now what we're doing isn't working outside of the land bank and its efforts that we're doing. So say you have an overgrown lot and someone in the neighborhood calls you and complains about it. Hey, this lot, you know, they're illegal dumping on it. It's abandoned. No one's mowed it for, you know, a couple seasons. What's our tool? What's the city's tool? Yeah. We tag it. We tag it with the building commissioner's office, which is a tool. We give them so many days to mow it. Well, guess what? They're not mowing it. And then we go, we put the labor forward to mow the lot. And then when they don't pay for that labor, we put liens on it, which continues that snowball issue of blight and the impact on how hard it is to acquire property. I'm a little disappointed John didn't do the ripe banana analogy, which is a really good one. But you think about a vacant structure as, you know, that fresh batch of bananas you got at the grocery store. And over time, it gets a little browner and it starts to rot. And eventually you throw it out. Well, that's kind of what we're doing here if we're not really addressing this issue is we have structures with a hole or something in it. Well, our answer eventually is that we have to tear it down, right? And that costs a lot of money, or we have to mow it, or, you know, so I just want to encourage you to think about that the land bank is an important tool in the toolbox. It's not the only tool, obviously, but it's an important tool in the toolbox. And with your unanimous support, hopefully today with this resolution, we can continue this conversation of sustainably funding a very important organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giuliani. Anyone else? Anybody from the council?
I would like to say something to Mr. Howard one more time. Thank you for meeting with me today, and thank you for the information you gave me and the email. I really appreciate that. Made it easy to make a decision. Thank you.
Oh, nice. And I'm just going to say, I know someone, I think maybe John mentioned that Mr. Howard does have the open community luncheons every Friday, or every month. I'm sorry. Which Friday is it again? The first, right? Yeah, the first Friday at Mad Jack's at noon, right? And he has different speakers, and they talk about the land bank's progress, and it's open to the public.
Anybody else? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, we're going to go to table ordinance. We're keeping that on the table. Okay. Okay, do we have any other business out here tonight? Okay. Any audience comments tonight?
Have Troy Waters? No? Okay. Audie Barber?
Good evening. I want to thank you guys for passing that resolution. Now, I challenge every one of you guys to put some teeth in it and try to get it in the budget, get them folks some money, because it is a big help for the city to have that as a tool. I discussed the property at 26 and Walnut Street where they have cleared the dirt and it's just sitting there. Nothing's going on. It's been like that for about 3 or 4 months now. A lot of these projects that are still in limbo, there's not been much done. I drive by the crisis center every day pretty much, and not a whole lot's going on at that place anymore. They got it all looking pretty good, but as far as finishing it and everything, it's still in limbo where it's at. So I know that I've heard that the new fire station is going to have to be moved because of soil issues with the corner of Centennial and MLK. So I had heard that they're going to try to move it down to Highland. I don't know if any of you folks have heard that or not, but that's a possibility that's going to happen. I don't think the administration has released that to too many people yet. So keep it under your hat. Don't let them know you guys know, okay? That's going to be an issue because we spent quite a bit of money to do soil samples there. Come to find out, the soil samples come back bad is what I've heard. So that's going to be an issue, moving the property, moving the fire station. It sounds to me like they're going to have to start all over again. I hope not, but spoke to Mr. President Dishman about an ordinance to, and all you guys, to introduce an ordinance to, if you're a city employee, that you can't be a city vendor. I'm still challenging you, every one of you guys, to write an ordinance up. Mr. Dishman, you told me you would, and we're still in limbo. Has nothing to do with the other commission that you guys have in place now. That's, under the resolution, you need to make it an ordinance to where it's got teeth. Cannot have resolutions because they don't have no teeth. If you make it an ordinance, you guys got a backbone to stand on and make stuff happen. So do your jobs when people come to you and say, hey, this make a nice ordinance, and continue on with it and do the best job you can. Don't just make it a one night a month project. I'm not even sitting up there and I make it a lot more nights than one night a month. So lots going on in this city right now, and I hope everybody's got their eyes open to it. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Barber, that is in the attorney's hands. He's drawing something up on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dishman.
Christopher Bilbrey.
Okay, I wanted to bring you guys up to speed on a couple things since the last time we talked last month. First and foremost, today is the 183rd day that you guys have been in office, which means on the 1st of January, and actually before that, I had sent you guys all emails, and then obviously since then, that means we are 182 days without a response from Mr. Basham. Again, he refuses to respond. And I'm going to come up here and say it every time until he does, or he's out of office, one or the other. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's irresponsible. And I think it makes him look bad and it reflects poorly on all of you. So I heard Miss Selvey ask somebody at the beginning of the meeting, please notify all of the counselors. I don't know if you guys' emails work or the emails don't work. You guys haven't updated anybody on that. But I know, for example, I've been able to communicate with every single one of you, save for Mr. Basham. So if his email is not working, that's a problem. He should be looking into that. But, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but if so, that's even worse. Okay. Moving on, I want to give an update about the Dan camp from the beginning of the month or last month. You guys talked at the meeting about whether it was open to the public or not. It was up here, posted for weeks that it was an open meeting. That night that you guys were here, it still hung. I kind of thought that somebody from the administration would take it down the next day. It remained there for the remainder of that week. I came here on Friday and it was still here. Since it was still hanging, I decided to go ahead and make my way to Angola. I drove up to Angola and was turned away from the meeting. Ridenauer said that they tried to go above and beyond, and they wanted to. He felt that they were being transparent, and apparently his version of transparency was kicking me out of the meeting. He would not let me attend the Saturday meeting either, and so, there goes transparency. Lastly, also, I feel like it's important because you guys might know what's going on as far as the salary ordinance, and the administration might act like they know. But it's very important when you're talking about the Indiana Code 36473. The administration came up here and they read, compensation fixed under this statement, under this section, may be increased or decreased by the executive during the budget year for which it is fixed. That is section C. It is important for the record, for the public at home, for you guys, for them, to know that in the English language, we read from left to right, from top to bottom. And generally, we go in alphabetical order, A, B, C, D. We don't jump around. Section A says, this section does not apply to compensation paid by a city to members of its police and fire department. Section B says, subject to the approval of the city legislative body, that's you all, the city executive shall fix the compensation of each appointed officer, deputy, so on and so forth. Compensation must be fixed under this section no later than November 1st of each year for the ensuing budget year. Section C then is what Mr. Wright and Mr. Wigley has stated. And then section D says, notwithstanding subsection B, the city clerk may be, with the approval of the legislative body, fix the salaries of the deputies, employees appointed under yada, yada, yada. So I just want it to be on the record that when they say, well, this is the law, we pulled the law up, this is what the law reads, they're doing it from bottom to top and from right to left. So it's not in proper order. So thank you for tabling that and continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Builder.
So, no one else?
Okay. Ms. Bell.
I just want to make sure that people know this coming up this week is the 4th of July. And we were all made aware that the Wheeling Avenue, which is normally open for spectators, will not be open this year. And so I'm just trying to help the administration get that information out there so that people will know not to come and bring your lawn chairs and sit in the middle of the street because it will be open to traffic. So that's all. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else got any comments?
You got a question?
Yeah, but that's
You
not,
want
that's not, can't do that, can we?
to maybe let everybody else know anything else?
Is there a reason why they're opening up Wheeling during 4th of July? Because I'm very concerned about that.
City council, I mean, as far as myself, I received an email at around 10 o'clock this morning. I'm just trying to make sure people are aware because
I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm very concerned because that's a spot that a lot of people go to. And I'm afraid that people are going to try to make up their own barricades and stuff. So I'm just really concerned about. Yeah.
That would be questions and for the administration. So contact the mayor's office and just express your concerns.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Be safe.
All right,
I don't go there, but.
Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
We're adjourned.